The transport ship slowly moved through space toward the biggest space station Duhayan had ever seen. Catical Military Academy was huge. It looked like a metal city floating among the stars. Thousands of lights blinked on its surface. From different worlds came and went like busy insects. Duhayan pressed his face against the small window. His breath made fog on the glass. He was 20 years old and had never been this far from Earth. His heart beat fast with excitement and fear. First time seeing the academy? Asked Minho, sitting next to him. Minho was also from Earth, also 20 years old. He had been Duhayan's friend since they were children. Yes, said Duhayan. It's so big. Wait until you see the aliens, said Haijin from across the small room. She was the third human on their transport. She was smart and brave, but Duhayan could tell she was nervous too. I read about them in the files. Some are 3 meters tall. Duhayan felt his stomach turn. 3 meters tall? That was twice his height. He was only 1.7 meters tall, which was normal for humans. But it would make him look like a child next to. These aliens, the transport ship docked with a loud clang. Metal doors opened with a hiss. Duhayan picked up his bag and followed the others out. The docking bay was massive. The ceiling was so high that Duhayan could not see it clearly. Beings from different worlds walked everywhere. Some had fur. Some had scales. Some had too many arms or legs. The air smelled strange, like metal and something else he could not. Names stay close, said Captain Bjoram. She was their commanding officer. She was 35 years old and had been in Earth's military for 15 years. But even she looked small and worried here. Remember what we learned? We are here to learn and make friends. We represent all of Earth. Duhayan nodded. Earth had only discovered faster than light travel 5 years ago. Before that, humans thought they were alone in the universe. Now they knew there were hundreds of alien species in the galaxy. Most had been traveling between stars for thousands of years. The humans were new. They were weak. They were small. Everyone knew this. A group of large aliens walked past them. They were covered in gray armor that looked like it grew from their skin. Their hands ended in sharp claws. Their eyes were yellow and cold. They looked at the humans like humans might look at insects. Vorthok, whispered Haijin. The file said they are the strongest species in the galaxy. One of the Vorthoks stopped walking. He was bigger than the others, much bigger. He turned to look at the humans with his yellow eyes. Duhayan felt something cold run down his back. It was like being watched by a hungry tiger. The big Vorthok made a sound that was almost like a laugh. But it was not friendly. It was the sound a predator makes when it sees easy prey. New meat, the Vorthok said in Galactic Standard. His voice was deep and rough. From the soft world called Earth, Duhayan tried not to show his fear, but his hand shook a little. The Vorthok's yellow eyes saw this. His mouth opened to show teeth that were sharp like knives. I am Nexmore, the big alien said. I am the strongest at this academy. I have never lost a fight. He stepped closer to Duhayan. You smell like fear, little Earth thing. We are here to learn, said Captain Bjoram. She moved between Duhayan. And Nexmore, we do not want trouble. Nexmore laughed again. It was not a nice sound. There is no trouble, he said. Only strong and weak. Only hunter and prey. He looked at Duhayan again. Which are you, little one? Duhayan felt his heart beating very fast. But he looked up at Nexmore's yellow eyes. I'm a student, he said. His voice was quiet but steady. I am here to learn. Nexmore tilted his big head. He seemed surprised that Duhayan had spoken. Most prey animals did not talk back to predators. Interesting, Nexmore said slowly. He reached out with one clawed hand and touched Duhayan's shoulder. The claws were sharp enough to cut through metal. You will learn much here, little Earthling. You will learn your place. Then Nexmore walked away with his group. They made loud noises that sounded like laughter. Are you okay? Asked Min-Ho. Duhayan nodded.
Sure.
But his shoulder still felt cold where Nexmore had touched him. Captain Bjoram led them through the station. The halls were wide and tall. Everything was built for beings much larger than humans. Duhayan had to walk fast to keep up. The academy has been here for 800 years, Captain Bjorn explained as they walked. Students come from all over the galaxy. They learn to fight, to lead armies, to protect their worlds. What do they learn about humans? Asked High-Jin. Captain. Bjorn was quiet for a moment. Not much, she said finally. Earth is new. We are weak compared to most species. We have no natural weapons. We are not very fast or strong. Most aliens think we are prey animals. Prey animals? Asked Duhayan. Animals that get hunted and eaten, said Captain Borum, like rabbits or deer on Earth. Duhayan thought about this. Humans had been prey animals once long ago. When they lived in caves and big predators hunted them, that was millions of years ago. Humans had changed since then. They reached their sleeping quarters. The rooms were small but clean. Each human had their own room with a bed, a desk, and a small window that looked out at the stars. Classes start tomorrow, said Captain Bjorn. Remember, we are guests here. We must be polite and respectful. We must show that humans can be good students and good allies. That night, Duhayan lay in his bed and looked out at the stars. He thought about this more-esque yellow eyes and sharp claws. He thought about being called prey. He thought about Earth. So far away, on Earth, humans were the strongest species. They had no natural predators. They built cities and flew to the stars. But here, surrounded by aliens who were bigger and stronger and had been traveling space for thousands of years, humans seemed very small and weak. Duhayan closed his eyes and tried to sleep. But he kept thinking about Dexmore's words. You will. Learn your place. Maybe that was true. Maybe Duhayan would learn his place at the academy, but maybe Dexmore would learn something too, outside his window. The stars shone bright and cold in the endless dark of space. Tomorrow, the real learning would begin. Duhayan woke up early on his first day of classes. The academy had artificial morning light that slowly got brighter to wake up the students. But Duhayan had been awake for an hour already, looking out his window at the stars. He put on his academy uniform. It was gray and simple, with a small Earth symbol on the chest. The uniform made him look even smaller than usual. The dining hall was enormous. Hundreds of alien students sat at long tables eating breakfast. The room was loud with different voices speaking different languages. Some sounds were like music. Others were like growling or hissing. Duhayan got his food from the serving machines. The food was strange, but not bad. It was made to be safe for all species to eat. He looked around for a place to sit. Most tables were full of the same species. Sitting together, the Vorthok sat at the biggest table in the center of the room. Their gray armor plating caught the light as they moved. They were loud and confident, like they owned the place. Duhayan found Minho and Hyjin at a small table near the wall. They looked as nervous as he felt. How did you sleep? Asked Hyjin. Not well, said Duhayan. Everything here is so big and loud. I read more about the academy rules last night, said Minho. He always liked to read and learn new things. There is something called the challenge system. What is that? Asked Duhayan. Students can challenge each other to fights, said Minho. If you win, you become the boss of the loser. It decides who is strong and who is weak. Duhayan felt cold. What kind of fights? No weapons, no armor, just natural fighting, said Minho. The Vorthok win almost all the time. They are too strong and too fast. Hyjin pointed across the room. Look at that table. Duhayan looked where she pointed. At a table near the Vorthok sat a group of smaller aliens. They had soft fur and big eyes. They ate quietly and kept their heads down. Those are Genthari, said Hyjin. They eat plants. The files said they are classified as prey species. They never fight back. It's just like us, said Minho quietly. Duhayan watched the Genthari. They looked scared all the time, even when they were just eating breakfast. They looked around like something might attack them. I do not want to be like that, said Dudashyan. After breakfast, they went to their first class. It was called Galactic Military History. The teacher was a tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms. Her name was Instructor Yelshin. Today, we will learn about the Great Wars, said Instructor Yelshin. Wars that shaped our galaxy. Duhayan tried to pay attention, but it was hard. Everything was about species he had never heard of, fighting wars that happened before Earth even had space travel. When Instructor Yelchin asked questions, Juhayan raised his hand several times. He had read about military history on Earth. He knew about strategy and tactics, but when he gave an answer, some of the other students laughed. A big Vorthok student named Veltar made a noise like a growl. "Pray thinking," said Veltar loudly.
Good for hiding in holes?
More students laughed. Duhane felt his face get hot with embarrassment. "Quiet," said Instructor Yelchin. But she did not sound angry at Veltar. She sounded like she agreed with him. The next class was combat training. This was what Duhayan had been afraid of. The training room was huge. The floor was covered with soft mats. Weapons hung on the walls, but the instructor said they would not use them yet. The instructor was a Vorthok named Kextal. He was almost as big as Thexmore, with scars on his armor plating that showed he had been in many fights. "Fighting is simple," said Kextal in his deep, rough voice. "Strong beats weak, fast beats slow. Smart is good, but claws are better." He divided the students into pairs for practice fighting. Duhayan was paired with Veltar. Veltar smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "This will be fun, little Earthing." They began to fight. Veltar was fast and strong. His claws were sharp. His armor plating protected him from Duhayan's weak punches. Duhayan tried to remember his Earth martial arts training. He tried to be fast and smart, but Veltar was faster. Within seconds, Duhayan was on the ground with Veltar's claws at his throat. "Dead," said Veltar happily. They fought 3 more times. Each time, Duhayan lost quickly. Each time, Veltar seemed to enjoy it more. "Pathetic," said Kextal, watching them. "Humans fight like frightened children." Duhayan stood up slowly. His body hurt from being thrown to the ground, but his pride hurt more. Across the room, Minho was fighting another Vorthok student. He was losing badly too. Aijin was paired with a smaller alien, but even that alien was winning easily. "This is how the galaxy works," said Kextal to the whole class. "Predators hunt. Prey runs and hides. Some species fight, others become food." He looked at the 3 humans. Earth species are clearly prey, weak, soft, no natural weapons. After class, Duhayan walked slowly back to his room. His body hurt, but his mind hurt more. Was this really what humans were? Just weak prey animals that other species could beat easily? That evening, the 3 humans sat together in Duhayan's room. "Maybe we should go home," said Minho. His face was bruised from fighting practice. "We cannot," said Haijin. "Earth needs us to succeed here. We are the first humans at the academy. If we fail, they might never let other humans come." Duhayan looked out his window at the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, home. A world where humans were strong and smart, where humans had built great cities and sent ships to the stars. "We are not prey," he said quietly. "What?" asked Haijin. "We are not prey," said Duhayan, again louder. "On Earth, humans are the strongest species. We built everything. We went to space. We are not weak." "But here we are," said Minho. "Look at us. We lost every fight today." Duhayan thought about this. It was true. In straight fighting, humans could not beat the Vorthok. The aliens were bigger, stronger, faster. They had natural weapons and armor, but humans had something else. Something the aliens did not understand yet. "My grandfather told me stories," said Duhayan, "about old times on Earth when humans lived in caves and big predators hunted them." "So?" asked Minho. "So how are we still here?" asked Duhayan. "If we were just prey, if we were just weak, how did humans survive? How did we become the strongest species on Earth?" And Minho looked at him with interest. "Humans are different," said Duhayan. "We do not win by being stronger or faster. We win by being smarter, by working together, by never giving up." "But we lost every fight today," said Min-Ho. Duhayan smiled for the first time since arriving at the academy. "Today was just the first day," he said. "We have a lot more to learn. Maybe we have a lot to teach too." Outside his window, the stars shone bright in the darkness. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new lessons, new chances to prove what humans really were. Du-Hyen was starting to look forward to it. 3 weeks passed at the academy. Du-Hyen learned many things, but not the things he expected. He learned that the dining hall went quiet when humans walked in. He learned that other students moved away from them in the hallways. He learned that being called prey was not just a word, it was how everyone saw them. In combat training, Du-Hyen lost every fight. But he also learned something else. He started to see patterns in how the Vorthok fought. They were strong and fast, but they always attacked the same way. They used their strength like a hammer, trying to crush everything. You are getting better. At losing, said Veltar, after throwing Du-Hyen to the ground again. Maybe you will last 5 seconds next time instead of 3. The other Vorthok students laughed. But Du-Hyen noticed something. It had taken Veltar longer to win this time. It's not much longer, but a little. In academic classes, Du-Hyen did well. He scored high on tests about military tactics and space battles. But when he gave answers in class, the other students still laughed. Book learning, said Kextel during one class. Prey animals are good at memorizing things, but fighting is different. Fighting is about strength and killing. Du-Hyen wanted to argue, but he stayed quiet. He was learning to pick his battles. Real change came on a Tuesday evening. Du-Hyen was walking alone through one of the academy's training areas. He often came here after dinner to practice by himself, trying to get better. The lights were dim. Most students were in their rooms or in the common areas. Du-Hyen thought he was alone. He was wrong. Little Earth thing. Du-Hyen turned around. Dexmore stood in the doorway. The big Vorthok looked even more frightening in the dim light. His yellow eyes glowed like a cat's eyes in the dark. Dexmore said, Du-Hyen. He tried to keep his voice steady. Dexmore walked slowly into the room. Each step made a sound like metal hitting stone. I have been watching you, he said. Du-Hyen felt cold fear run down his back. Watching me? Said Dexmore. You are interesting, little one. Most prey animals learn their place quickly. They stop trying to fight. They accept that they are weak. Dexmore tilted his head. But you keep trying, why? Du-Hyen thought about this question. Why did he keep trying? Why did he keep coming to training when he always lost? Why did he keep raising his hand in class when everyone laughed at him? Because I am not prey, he said finally. Dexmore made that sound that was almost like laughing. You are small. You are weak. You have no claws, no armor, no fangs. What are you if not prey? I am human, said Du-Hyen. Human, repeated Dexmore slowly, like he was tasting the word. From the soft world Earth, a world with no real predators. It's a world where nothing dangerous lives. Du-Hyen almost laughed at that. Earth had no dangerous predators. Humans had shared their world with lions, tigers, bears, sharks, crocodiles, and thousands of other deadly creatures. But he did not say this. He just watched Dexmore with careful eyes. Dexmore stepped closer. Now, he was only 2 meters away. Du-Hyen could smell him like metal and something wild. I want to show you something, said Dexmore. Something my people can do. Suddenly, Du-Hyen felt afraid. Not normal afraid. This was different. This fear came from deep inside his brain, from the oldest parts that remembered when humans lived in caves and monsters hunted them in the dark. His heart started beating very fast. His hands began to shake. Sweat broke out on his forehead. Of his body was screaming at him to run, to hide, to get away from the terrible thing in front of him. But Du-Hyen did not run. He could not run. His legs felt like they were made of stone. This is fear, said Dexmore softly. Real fear. My people have this gift. We can make other species feel the terror of being hunted. Most beings fall down when we do this. Some faint. Some wet themselves. Dexmore's eyes glowed brighter. But you are still standing. Du-Hyen was still standing, but just barely. The fear was like a heavy weight pressing down on him. His whole body shook. But he did not fall down. He did not run. He looked straight into Dexmore's yellow eyes. Interesting, said Dexmore. The terrible fear slowly went away. Du-Hyen could breathe normally again. Those prey animals cannot resist our fear projection. But you did badly. But you did. Is that supposed to impress me? Asked Du-Hyen. voice shook a little, but it was getting stronger. Dexmore tilted his head again. You have spirit, little earthing. I like that. We'll make breaking you. More fun? Breaking me? Yes, said Dexmore. I've decided that you need to learn your place properly. The slow way has not worked. Time for the fast way. Dexmore took a step back. When he spoke again, his voice was formal and loud. I, Dexmore of the Vorthok, strongest fighter at this academy, challenge you, Duhayan of Earth, to single combat. Duhayan felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. Okay, a challenge, a formal challenge. The rules are simple, said Vexmore. No weapons, no armor. We fight until one of us cannot continue. If I win, all humans at this academy serve me. You will do what I say when I say it for as long as you are here. And if I win, yes, do Dashayan. X single quotes more really laughed this time. Yes. If you win, little earthing, then I will serve you. But you will not win. You cannot win. On 3 times your size. I have claws that can cut through metal. I have armor that can stop bullets. I have never lost a fight. Duhayan looked at Dexmore. The alien was right. Duhayan could not win a straight fight against him. It would be like a house cat fighting a tiger. But something inside Duhayan was angry. Not just angry, furious. Furious at being called prey. Furious at being laughed at. Furious at being told he was weak. Accept, he said. Dexmore's eyes widened with surprise. You accept? Yes, said Duhayan. I accept your challenge. You will die, said Dexmore. Maybe, said Duhayan, but I will not quit. Dexmore stared at him for a long moment. Then he smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. Good, he said. The challenge will be in 3 days. The whole academy will watch. They will see what happens to prey that forgets its place. Dexmore turned and walked away, his footsteps echoing in the empty room. Duhayan stood alone in the dim light. He had just agreed to fight the strongest. Being at the academy, he had just signed his own death sentence, but for the first time since arriving at the academy, Duhayan felt something he had not felt in weeks. He felt like himself again. 3 days. He had 3 days to figure out how a human could beat a Vorthok. 3 days to prove that Earth's children were more than just prey. 3 days to show the galaxy what humans really were. The challenge was set. Now the real learning would begin. News of the challenge spread through the academy like fire. By the next morning, everyone knew that the small human had accepted this Morris challenge. Most students thought Duhayan was crazy. Some thought he was brave. All of them thought he was going to die. You cannot fight him, said Captain Borum. She had called Duhayan to her office as soon as she heard. This is not training. This is real combat. Dexmore will kill you. Maybe, said Duhayan, but I already accepted. Academy rules say I cannot change my mind now. Captain Borum sat down heavily in her chair. Why did you do this? Why did you accept? Duhayan thought about this question. Why had he accepted? It was not just anger, though he was angry. It was something deeper. Because someone has to, he said finally. Someone has to show them that humans are not just prey. If not me. Then who? Captain Borum looked at him for a long time. What do you know about fighting Vorthok? Not much, admitted Duhayan. But I have been watching them. Learning how they move, how they think. That is not enough, said Captain Borum. They are killing machines, Duhayan. They have been perfected by millions of years of evolution, too. Hunt and kill. Duhayan nodded. I know. But humans have been evolving, too. That afternoon, Duhayan went to the Academy's library. It was a huge room filled with data files from every world in the galaxy. He looked up everything he could find. About Earth, most of it was basic information. Earth was a small planet. Humans were weak omnivores. They had only recently developed space travel. Nothing dangerous lived on their world, but Duhayan knew this was wrong. Very wrong. He accessed Earth's own files, information that humans had, sent to the Academy about their world. What he found made him smile for the first time in days. Minho, he called to his friend. Come look at this. Minho came over to the computer terminal. What is it? Earth's fossil record, said Duhayan. Look at this list. Minho read the names on the screen. Tyrannosaurus rex, saber-toothed cat, cave bear, megalodons, dire wolves. He looked confused. What are these? Predators, said Du-Hyen. Predators that used to live on Earth? Predators that hunted humans' ancestors. Where are they now? Asked Min-Ho. Du-Hyen's smile got bigger. Gone. All of them. Extinct. Minho stared at the screen. All of them? What happened to them? Humans happened to them, said Du-Hyen. He pulled up more files. Pictures of ancient humans hunting massive woolly mammoths, groups of humans with simple spears bringing down cave bears twice their size, human hunters tracking saber-toothed cats through ice and snow. Look at this, said Du-Hyen, pointing to one file. Humans did not win by being stronger. They won by being smarter, by working together, by never giving up. Minho read more of the files. It says here that humans were persistence hunters. They would chase their prey for days until the animals collapsed from exhaustion. And look at this, said Du-Hyen. He found a file about human tribal warfare. When humans ran out of big predators to hunt, they started hunting each other. For thousands of years, the most dangerous thing on Earth was other humans. Minho was quiet for a long time. Then he said, but Dexmore is not a mammoth or a saber-toothed cat. He is much more dangerous. Is he? Asked Du-Hyen. Tyrannosaurus rex was 12 meters long and weighed 8 tons. It had teeth as long as knives and jaws that could crush a car, but humans' ancestors killed them all. How? Du-Hyen closed the files and leaned back in his chair. By being human. The next day was the second day before the fight. Du-Hyen spent it watching Vorthok students train. He sat in the training room and observed every move they made. The Vorthok fought like their ancestors, must have fought with pure strength and aggression. They charged at their enemies. They used their claws and teeth. They relied on fear and intimidation. They were very good at it. Du-Hyen watched Veltar defeat 3 different opponents in a row. Each fight lasted less than a minute. But Du-Hyen also noticed something else. The Vorthok always fought the same way. They had patterns, habits. They expected their enemies to be afraid and to make mistakes. What happens when an enemy is not afraid? Du-Hyen asked himself quietly. That evening, Instructor Quenda found Du-Hyen in the library. She was an old alien, from a species Du-Hyen had never seen before. She had been at the academy for longer than anyone could remember. You are preparing for your fight, she said. It was not a question. Yes, said Du-Hyen.
Nice.
May I ask what you are learning? Du-Hyen showed her the files about Earth's extinct predators. Instructor Quenda read them with growing interest. Fascinating, she said. Your world was very dangerous. Yes, said Du-Hyen, but we survived. More than survived, said Instructor Quenda. You became the dominant species. She looked at Du-Hyen with new eyes. I have been watching you since you arrived. You move differently than other prey species. How? Prey. Animals are always looking for escape routes. They keep their heads down. They try not to be noticed. Instructor Quenda tilted her head. But you watch everything. You study your environment. You look for weaknesses. Du-Hyen had not realized he was doing this, but she was right. You move like a predator, said Instructor Quenda. But not like the Vorthok. They are ambush predators. Fast and strong, but they expect quick kills. She paused. You move like something else. Something I have not seen before. What? A pursuit predator, she said. Something that hunts by following its prey until the prey makes a mistake. Du-Hyen thought about this. His ancestors had been pursuit hunters. They had tracked animals across great distances. They had been patient. They had waited for the right moment. You think I can win? Asked Du-Hyen. Instructor Quenda was quiet for a long time. I think, she said finally, that Dexmore does not understand what he is fighting. The third day came quickly. Du-Hyen spent it in meditation and light exercise. He did not practice fighting. Instead, he practiced moving, being patient, staying calm. That evening, the Academy's great hall was packed. Students from every species had come to watch. The betting pools were enormous. Most bets were on how long Duhan would last. The longest anyone bet was 2 minutes. Duhan sat quietly in the preparation room. Minho and Hai-Jin were with him, along with Captain Borum. "Are you ready?" asked Captain Borum. "No," said Duhan. "Honestly, but I am going to fight anyway." "Do you have a plan?" asked Hai-Dash. Jin Duhan smiled. "Yes, I am going to be human." "What does that mean?" asked Mindasho. Duhan stood up and walked toward the door that led to the arena. "It means," he said, "that Dexmore is about to learn why there are no more Tyrannosaurus Rex on Earth." The door opened. The sound of the crowd filled the air. Duhan walked toward his destiny, carrying with him the legacy of every human who had ever faced a predator and survived. Behind him came the ghosts of humanity's past. The hunters who had brought down mammoths, the warriors who had faced cave bears, the survivors who had outlasted every creature that had ever tried to make humanity its prey. Tonight, the galaxy would learn what humans really were. Tonight, Vorthok would discover what fear tastes like. The arena was huge and round, with tall walls and bright lights. Thousands of students sat in the seats above, looking down at the fighting area. The noise was incredible, voices from dozens of different species all talking at once. Duhan walked into the arena. The crowd got quieter as they saw him. He looked very small under the bright lights. His academy uniform was simple and gray. He had no armor, no weapons, nothing but his own body. On the other side of the arena, Dexmore entered. The crowd exploded with noise. The big Vorthok looked like a walking tank. His gray armor plating caught the light. His claws gleamed like metal knives. When he roared, half the audience made sounds of fear and excitement. Duhan walked to the center of the arena. Dexmore did the same. They stood facing each other with 5 meters between them. An academy official came forward. He was a tall alien with blue skin and a formal voice. "This is a formal challenge," the official announced. "Single combat between Dexmore of the Vorthok and Duhan of Earth. No weapons, no armor. The fight ends when one fighter cannot continue." The official looked at both fighters. "Do you understand the rules?" "Yes," said Dexmore. His voice was loud and confident. "Yes," said Duhan quietly. "Each fighter may perform their species' traditional war display," said the official. "Dexmore, you may begin." Dexmore stepped forward. He raised his massive arms above his head and let out a roar that shook the arena. It was not just loud, it carried something extra, something that made every prey species in the audience want to run and hide. Dexmore dropped to all. Forzen moved in a circle around Duhan. His claws scraped against the arena floor, making sparks. He showed his teeth, each one sharp enough to cut through bone. Then Dexmore stood up and spread his arms wide. His armor plating expanded, making him look even bigger. He roared again. And this time, he used his fear projection. Waves of terror rolled off him like heat from a fire. Most of the audience felt it. Many prey species in the crowd whimpered or moved back in their seats. Even some predator species looked uncomfortable. The display was magnificent and terrifying. It showed millions of years of evolution creating the perfect killer. Dexmore was everything that nightmares were made of. When he finished, the crowd was silent for a moment. Then the Vorthok students began to cheer and make their hunting calls. "Very impressive," said the official, and turned. "To Duhan, your turn." Duhan nodded. He walked to the center of the arena and stood very still. For a moment, nothing happened. Some students in the crowd began to laugh, thinking the human was too scared to move. Then Duhan began to speak. He spoke in Korean, his native language. His voice was calm and steady. The translation systems picked up his words and broadcast them to the crowd. "Tyrannosaurus Rex," Duhan said. 12 meters long, 8 tons, teeth like swords. Extinct. The crowd got quiet. Duhan continued. "Saber-toothed cat, faster than wind, claws like spears. Extinct." Duhan's voice got a little louder, but stayed calm. "Megalodons, 20 meters long, jaws that could swallow boats, extinct. He began to walk in a slow circle, just as Dexmore had done. But his movement was different. Not aggressive, not threatening, patient. Like a hunter following a trail. Cave bears, armor than 10 men. Armor of fur and muscle, extinct. Duhayans. Eyes never left Dexmore as he spoke. The big Vorthok was watching him with growing confusion. This was not how prey animals behaved. Dire wolves, pack hunters, smart as demons, extinct. In the crowd, Instructor Quenda leaned forward. She understood what she was hearing. Duhayan was not just naming random animals. He was listing Earth's apex predators, creatures that had once ruled his world. Giant crocodiles. 30 meters long, jaws that crushed everything, extinct. Duhayan stopped walking and faced Dexmore directly. All of them, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the silent arena. Every apex predator that ever lived on Earth, all extinct. The crowd was completely quiet now. Even the Vorthok students had stopped cheering. Do you know what they all had in common? Duhayan asked. They were bigger than humans, stronger than humans, faster than humans. They had better weapons than humans. Dexmore's yellow eyes narrowed. He was beginning to understand that something was wrong. This was not how challenges were supposed to go. Do you know what happened to them all? Duhayan continued. They met humans, and humans are still here. Duhayan raised his voice for the first time. I am Duhayan of Earth. I am human. I am the child of the species that made Tyrannosaurus Rex extinct. I am the heir of the hunters who brought down giants with nothing but patience and clever thinking. The arena was so quiet that Duhayan's breathing could be heard. You want to know what humans hunt, Dexmore? Duhayan asked. We hunt everything. When we decide to hunt something, ... quotes. He paused. The official looked stunned. In 800 years of Academy challenges, he had never heard anything like this. Begin combat, he said weakly. Dexmore exploded into motion. All of his confusion and growing unease turned into pure aggression. He charged across the arena like a living missile, claws extended, roaring with fury. Duhayan waited until the last possible second. Then he moved. It was a simple sidestep, but perfectly timed. Dexmore's charge carried him past Duhayan and into the arena wall. The impact was tremendous. Dust and small pieces of concrete fell from where Dexmore hit. The crowd gasped. Prey. Animals did not dodge like that. They froze or ran, did not calmly step aside from charging predators. Dexmore shook his head and turned around. His yellow eyes were filled with anger and something else, confusion. His charge had never missed before. He attacked again, this time more carefully. A series of claw swipes meant to corner Duhayan and tear him apart. But Duhayan was not there. Each swipe found only air. The human moved like water, flowing around Dexmore's attacks without seeming to hurry. Dexmore began to feel something new. Frustration. His attacks were perfect. His technique was flawless. But he could not touch. This small, weak creature Duhayan had not attacked once. He just moved, watching, waiting, learning. In the crowd, Captain Bjorm watched with amazement. Now Duhayan was fighting exactly like his ancestors had fought giant predators. Not with strength, but with patience. Not with aggression, but with intelligence. Dexmore's attacks became wilder, more desperate. He was using more energy than he should. His breathing was getting heavier, and Duhayan just kept moving, kept watching, kept waiting for his moment. The crowd began to understand what they were seeing. This was not a normal fight between predator and prey. This was something much older, much more dangerous. This was a human hunting. Dexmore was breathing hard now. Sweat dripped from his armor plating. He had been attacking for 10 minutes and had not touched Duhayan once. The human moved like a ghost. Every claw swipe missed. Every charge found empty air. Duhayan seemed to know where the s'more would attack before the s'more knew it himself. In the crowd, the mood was changing. Vorthok students had stopped cheering. Other species were leaning forward in their seats. This was not going the way anyone expected. Is he doing that? Whispered a Relkin student. The human is not fighting, said another student. He is just ... moving. But Instructor Quenda understood. He is hunting, she said quietly to herself. It's just like his ancestors hunted mammoths. Nexmore paused his attack and glared at Du-Hyan. Stop running, coward. Fight me. Du-Hyan stood still for the first time since the fight began. I am not running, he said calmly. I am studying you. Studying me? Yes, said Du-Hyan. You attack with your right claw first, always. When you charge, you lean slightly left. When you get angry, you drop your guard for half a second. Du-Hyan smiled. I have been watching you for 10 minutes. I know exactly how you fight now. Dexmore felt something cold in his stomach. Fear. Real fear. It's not the fear he projected at others, but fear for himself. Impossible, he growled. You are prey. You are weak, am I? Asked Du-Han. For the first time in the fight, Du-Han attacked it. Was not like a Vorthok attack. There was no roaring, no wild clawing, no attempt to overpower. Instead, Du-Han moved with surgical precision. As Dexmore swung his right claw, Du-Han ducked under it and struck the Vorthok's wrist. It was a small strike, but perfectly placed. Dexmore's claws went numb for a moment. Before Dexmore could react, Du-Han struck again. This time at a nerve cluster behind Dexmore's knee. The big Vorthok stumbled. Another strike. Another pressure. Point. Another carefully targeted weakness. Du-Han was not trying to overpower Dexmore. He was dismantling him piece by piece, like a mechanic taking apart a machine. Stop! Roared Dexmore. He swung wildly with both claws, trying to catch Du-Han, but Du-Han was already moving. Struck Dexmore's shoulder, then his ankle, then a spot on his neck that made the Vorthok's vision blur. Each strike was small. Each strike was precise. Each strike made Dexmore a little slower, a little weaker, a little more confused. The crowd watched in stunned silence. They were seeing something that should not be possible. A small, weak human was defeating the strongest predator at the academy. But they were also seeing something else, something that made many of them uncomfortable. They were seeing what Du-Han really was, not prey, not a victim, a hunter. A member of the species that had survived every predator Earth had ever produced. Dexmore fell to one knee. His breathing was ragged. His vision was blurry. His limbs felt heavy and slow. How? He gasped. Du-Han stood in front of him, not even breathing hard. My ancestors hunted creatures much bigger than you, he said. They did not win with strength. They won with patience. With planning, with the ability to find weakness in anything. Tried to stand, but his legs would not obey him. Du-Han's strikes had hit nerve clusters and pressure points that Dexmore did not even know he had. This is impossible, Dexmore whispered. You are just a soft mammal from a weak world. Du-Han knelt down so he was at eye level with the fallen Vorthok. Earth is not a weak world, he said quietly. Earth is a death world, and humans are what evolved to survive on a death world. Dexmore looked into Du-Han's eyes and saw something that chilled him to his core. Those eyes were not cruel or angry. They were calm, patient, the eyes of a being that could wait forever for the right moment to strike. You want to know what fear tastes like? Du-Han asked softly. It tastes like being hunted by something smarter than you, something that never gives up, something that will follow you until you make a mistake, and then end you so quickly you never see it coming. Dexmore collapsed completely. Not from injury, but from the weight of understanding. He had challenged what he thought was prey. Instead, he had challenged the ultimate predator. The arena was completely silent. The official walked over to check on Dexmore. The Vorthok was conscious but unable to move. Winner, the official announced in a shaky voice, Du-Han of Earth. Silence stretched for another moment. Then, slowly, the crowd began to make noise. Not cheering exactly, but a low murmur of amazement and confusion. Du-Han helped Dexmore sit up. Are you badly hurt? He asked. Dexmore stared at him. You are helping me? Of course, said Du-Han. The fight is over. You are not my enemy anymore? This confused Dexmore even more. Predators did not help defeated prey. They dominated them. They claimed territory and status, but Duhan was not claiming anything. He was just making sure that Xmor was not seriously injured. I do not understand, said Xmor. Humans do not fight to dominate, explained Duhan. We fight to survive. We fight to protect our families and friends. When the fight is over, it is over. In the days that followed, everything at the Academy changed. Scientists came from all over the galaxy to study humans. They wanted to understand how such a small, seemingly weak species could be so dangerous. What they found amazed them. Earth was indeed a death world, a planet where massive predators had ruled for millions of years until humans evolved. Humans had not evolved to be the biggest or strongest. They had evolved to be the smartest, the most adaptable, and the most persistent. They were pursuit predators who could outlast anything. Dr. Yelkin, the Academy's chief. Scientists published a report that shocked the galactic community. Humans are not predators or prey, she wrote. They are survivors. They're what happens when a species becomes so good at hunting that they make all their natural predators extinct. The report went on to describe Earth's history, how humans had used tools and teamwork to hunt creatures 10 times their size, how they had survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and asteroid impacts, how they had turned warfare into an art form. We have been classifying them wrong, Dr. Yelkin concluded. Humans are not weak mammals from a backwater world. They're the apex survivors from one of the most dangerous planets in known space. Dexmor himself changed the most. No, the defeat had not broken him. Instead, it had opened his eyes. He approached Duhayan a week after the fight. I want to learn, he said simply. Learn what? Asked Duhayan. How to hunt like a human, said Vexmore. How to think like a human. How to be patient like a human. Duhayan smiled. I can teach you, but it is not easy. Human hunting requires thinking, not just fighting. I understand, said Dexmore. I understand that I know nothing. Soon, other students began to ask similar questions. They wanted to learn about human tactics, human strategy, human ways of thinking. The Academy's hierarchy began to change. Species were no longer ranked just by strength or speed. Intelligence, adaptability, and persistence became equally important. Captain Borum watched all of this with pride. You did more than win a fight, she told Duhan. You changed how the galaxy sees humanity. Duhan looked out at the stars through his window. No, he said. Just showed them what we have always been. And what is that? Duhayan smiled. Survivors. The age of humanity among the stars had truly begun, and the galaxy was learning a new lesson that the most dangerous predator was not always the biggest or strongest. Sometimes it was the one that never gave up. Sometimes it was human.